So do you prefer a hard or soft resin? Raise your hand if you prefer hard resin. Any of you vote for hard resin? No? So my understanding is you all prefer soft resin. You agree hard. This is why I agree hard. Any other answer? So put it that way. Have you seen any effect? 1 plus 1 is less than 2. Or 1 plus 1 is less than 0. Have you ever seen this kind of situation? 1 plus 1 is less than 0. No? Or have you seen any scenario 1 plus 1 is greater than 2? So you all, well, except one, you all agree with soft resin, right? Am I right? Okay. It doesn't matter, but let me know why you prefer a hard resin. What do you think?
In my opinion, I think by choosing the hard Brexit, it gives Britain more opportunity as it has no restraints instead of soft Brexit. And for the hard Brexit, I guess Britain will be like a force without any restraints and any way that would block its way forward. And it has loads of risk premium, but on the other side, it has loads of risk as well. It's self-dependent, and it has to live with its own. So any wrong step it moves forward, then it might lead to serious consequences where the UK might not be able to afford that. This is the downside.
Yeah, that's a great point. So primarily from the aspect of handle control over national autonomy or to gain autonomy, hard resin is a good option. So you can take 100% control over your own national economy. You don't have to comply with any EU rules. The downside would be there will be huge risk. Yeah. So when I'm saying 1+1 less than 0 is the scenario before Brexit, because as I mentioned, so regional economic integration is countries seeking to achieve a synergy. So 1+1 is greater than 2. But now if 1+1 is less than 0, regional integration doesn't really help those, advanced countries, well-developed countries, joining the regional integration of economic bloc might delay or hinder the development of a particular country's economy. Then that might not be a good option. So Brexit might be the necessary outcome of regional integration. So those better performed countries are unwilling to sacrifice their autonomy over their own economy just to compromise those weak economies. And they don't want the spread of economic crisis. They don't want those workers who come to their own countries to claim they benefit or leads to high local unemployment rate. So that's the outcome of regional integration and the consequence of Brexit, or it's the UK's awkward scenario in EU for a long period of time. So soft Brexit. Why do you prefer soft Brexit? Why? Do you all want access to EU single market, right? Yeah, so we want synergy. So the advantage to stay inside is we can't gain access to EU single market, especially now if you think about those, London used to be the banking center, right, of the world. But not now. Might be Frankfurt or somewhere in Europe, or maybe even Tokyo, but not now. So multinational firms no longer, actually they switch their location from the UK elsewhere in Europe because of the Brexit. Okay, it doesn't matter, whatever you think, prefer soft or hard, it doesn't really matter as long as you can justify your own answers. Now, if you think about the potential options for Brexit, what kind of model could UK follow to re-establish its trading relationship with the European Union? You can think about the 5 different levels of integration we discussed previously. So EU is a common market. What are the options? Except for common market, what are the options could the UK follow in order to re-establish its trading relationship with the European Union? Any answers?
Customs. We cannot just agree on customs union.
Yeah, customs union. That's an excellent point. So the UK could potentially follow the model used by Turkey. So Turkey actually developed a customs union with EU member countries. So the UK could also establish a customs union with individual EU member countries. Any other answer? Any other answer? Any other answer? So we have someone from Norway, right? So Norway is not a member of EU, but Norway has access to EU single market, right?
Yeah, but I don't think England would like that because didn't you vote for Brexit because of they don't want the foreigners to work in the country?
Yeah.
Well, the agreement we have is kind of that you can work.
Exactly as what you said. So, like Norway's model, actually the UK might have access to the single market, but like Norway, if you want access, then you do have to comply with some EU rules or laws, especially free movement law. So which means the UK has to compromise on immigration, except EU immigrants coming to the UK to live, stay, and work, and also claim free benefits. And also the UK has to pay a financial contribution to the EU government in exchange for access to the EU single market like Norway. And actually Liechtenstein and Iceland all use the same model as Norway. Any other potential options? Do we have anybody from Canada or Switzerland? So actually, so the UK could also follow a Canadian or Swiss model to, well, these countries' access to the EU single market is governed by a series of bilateral trade agreements with individual EU member countries. Yeah, so we have the common market, or like Norway, Liechtenstein, or Iceland, have access to single market, but potentially comply with EU rules and pay a financial contribution. But as we know, since last year, the UK actually adopted a Canadian or Swiss model. So the UK government negotiated a series of bilateral free trade agreements with individual EU member countries, although it's time consuming, but it's done now, except the financial services sector no longer have access to the EU single market, unfortunately. The financial services sector is the national strategic sector of the UK, as we all know. But I guess this is the price that the UK has to pay for Brexit, unfortunately. Now the question is, what are the impact of Brexit on the UK or the European Union or other countries outside the EU? Please.
Hard border in Ireland?
Yes, hard borders in Ireland means there will be increased border checks, right? Additional documentations, right? Or additional handling fees. I need to handle these different documentations or different new checks. So there will be perhaps delayed deliveries or increased delivery costs, right? Any other? It's everywhere. We can feel in our daily life.
Decreasing of economic GDP.
Yeah, decreased GDP growth, of course, certainly. Anything else? You go to the checkpoint or cash point to withdraw cash. Some cash points need to charge either handling fee or it's not free. If you want to withdraw cash, you do have to pay a fee, right? But before Brexit period, all cash points are free if you want to withdraw cash. So there will be bank transaction fees. Please.
Scotland trying to remain in the EU, also trying to regain independence from the UK.
Well, there will be arguments, confrontations within the UK anyway. Yes. Anything else? Maybe there will be a potential EU tariff in the near future. Who knows? Yeah, but these are, there will also be perhaps an increased import tariffs, because as we can see in the supermarket, things are more expensive, partly due to the increased handling fees or new checks, and partly due to the fact that these products are imported from countries outside the EU, which means the UK has to pay import tariffs, and this will increase the prices of those products in the supermarket. But these are, what I want to know is, these are the impact at micro level that we can feel. But what you need to know is the impact of Brexit on UK's international trade at macro level in terms of imports and exports. As you can see, what I'm showing you now is a figure illustrates export growth. So the vertical line represents export growth in percentage, and the horizontal line represents different years. Yeah? And the blue line represents UK's export growth, and the red line represents doppelganger countries' average export growth. So doppelganger is a subset of 22 advanced economies in the world. Now, if you look at the horizontal line here, is the point of Brexit, December 2020. Now, if you look at the period before Brexit, yeah, so the blue line and the red line are very similar, right? So the deviation between the blue and the red lines are minimal before Brexit, before December 2020. Yeah. So we can use doppelganger countries' average growth as a hypothetical scenario, as if the UK hasn't left the European Union. Then we can work out the difference. Now, if you look at the period, post-Brexit period, the gap between the blue and the red line is significant, right? So we can draw a conclusion. So if the UK hasn't left the European Union, its export growth would be much faster than today's export growth. The gap is nearly 15.7%. So it would be 15.7% faster than today's export growth. And we can see similar patterns in terms of imports. And although the gap is not as big, but it's still significant. As you can see, the gap is nearly 8%. Again, we can draw an inference. If the UK hasn't left the European Union, its import growth would be nearly 8% faster than today's import growth. Now the question is, why UK's exports growth suffered much more than import growth? Perhaps a little bit complicated, but you can think about trade diversion effect. Now, before Brexit, so UK exporters can source raw materials and parts within EU from EU suppliers. But now, post-Brexit, no access anymore. So EU exporters find it difficult or harder to source input raw materials from importers within the EU. So they have to find alternative suppliers outside the EU. So which means they would have to pay tariffs. So this will increase the production cost of British products and reduce the price competitiveness of British products in the global market, leading to reduced UK export. And also, as we discussed before, one of the reasons why multinational firms prefer to invest in countries belonging to economic bloc purely because they can gain preferential treatment on export to all EU member countries. But now, post-Brexit period, multinational firms switch their locations from the UK to other EU countries, which significantly reduce UK's export if these production plants are mainly used to serve the EU market or other markets elsewhere. For example, you know the Japanese car maker Honda. You know Honda. Last year, Honda permanently shut down their factory in Sweden. You know where Sweden is? That's not an exciting place to go, but it's home to multinational firms in the semiconductor industry anyway. So Honda permanently shut down their factory in Sweden, but they didn't relocate to other EU countries at the time last year, partly due to the pandemic. So they relocated back home. So this is the answer for this question. The final question. Is UK the first country to leave the European Union? Is UK the first country to leave the European Union? Any answer? You think so? Yes or no? So, who is the first country left the European Union? Perhaps you can tell from these beautiful pictures. Yeah? No, Norway.
Greenland.
Excellent. Greenland is the first country left the European Union in 1982. But at the time, it took Greenland is, by the way, Denmark's overseas territory. So its geographic proximity is closer to Canada than to Denmark. And it took Greenland 3 years to leave the European Union at the time with a satisfactory deal on the fishing industry, because at the time the EU hasn't defined its own fishing policies. the leaving the European Union allowed Greenland to develop its own fishing industry. Nowadays, the top two fishing companies in Denmark are Greenlandic fishing companies. Ironically, after years of separation, a return to EU is advocated in Greenland again. So do you think the UK will return to the European Union at some point? Who knows? Anyway, so thank you very much for coming. I'll see you soon. Okay? Thank you.